there's little doubt that the Arabs were far more attuned to a habitual reliance on peripheral vision. Things just made sense to them, and common sense constructions than any form of analytical gaze that we are now used to. But by the middle of the 2nd century of Islam, 8th century Common Era, Muslim conquests, people coming into Islam, different ethnic backgrounds, people mixing, there was a fundamental shift in the people, in the way that they approach Islamic history, Islamic knowledge systems, okay? Where Arabs and non-Arabs began to mix with each other. And that led to two main camps. Now, these two camps, I must stress, are not opposed to each other, but they're a useful tool to understand this history, heuristic tool, a useful way of thinking. One is the traditionalism, and one is the rationalism. So traditional are the Muhaddithūn, scholars of hadith, for want of a better phrase, and the other one is rationalism, people who are more inclined towards rational modes of thinking. You would think that the traditional camp, based on what I've said in the last 15, 20 minutes, would reflect more of the peripheral type of reading of scripture, and rationalism would reflect more of the central vision, the more analytical gaze. But actually, they both share the same ideas, though in different approaches as well, okay? So it wasn't that the difference between them was because they gave different priority to reason, because they both were committed to reason. They were both commonsensical. They were both using reason. And the traditionalists use hadith. The rationalists use hadith, but they also, both of them also use reason. So more accurate to say that these two approaches represented not two different attitudes towards reason, but two different traditions of reason. The conflict, in other words, was not over how much authority to accord reason or revelation per se, but over which regime of sense should govern the act of reading revelation. How should we understand? What kind of ways should we understand revelation? Because you have to use aql. Okay, so traditionalism and rationalism, they separated in terms of what kind of meanings should be recognized as a proper backdrop over which to make sense of scripture. This is important.